Hey everybody, welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. So today I wanted to talk about the topic of weak killers and tier lists. So oftentimes when people do tier lists, they will have an F tier / D tier, whatever the bottom rank tier is. And for Dead by Daylight, typically the killers that end up there are as followed: Trapper, Freddy, and Michael Myers. Now, I did a poll recently talking about these killers and which was the weakest considering with no add-ons. A lot of people said Myers. Now, that's not really relevant to what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the idea that just because these killers are at the bottom of the tier list does not mean they're unplayable. And I think that's something that people tend to forget. A lot of times you'll see people place Trapper at the bottom of the list, and for some reason some will take that as gospel and be like, well, I guess I can't play Trapper now. He can't ever win. That is not true. You'll have a harder time, and you'll probably have to rely a bit more on your perks and add-ons to help you get that win. And you might have to do a little bit more tunneling and camping to help win consistently. But at the end of the day, a lot of these killers are still just fine. Myers in particular, once again, there's a reason why most tier lists don't take into account add-ons, and Myers is one of those reasons. Myers with and without Tombstone is a whole other ballgame. What I will say is these three killers are still weak. That does not make them unplayable. If you enjoy Trapper's gameplay, or Freddy's gameplay, or Myers' gameplay, by all means, play them. You know, just remember that a lot of people talking about these killers have their reasons for putting them as low as they are almost consistently. The one thing Myers has going for him, even without his Tombstone, is his snowball potential. But he can run out of his power. That's part of the reason why he's down there. He also doesn't have any anti-loop, no map mobility, nothing like that. He has his stealth to a degree, and he has his ability to insta-down if the situation calls for it. Freddy has inherent slowdown, teleporting around the map, and slight anti-loop. And without add-ons, he doesn't have a pallet, or doesn't have his pallets. He just has his snares, which aren't the greatest slowdown or anti-loop and don't work at every loop and require some setup time, etc., etc. At the end of the day, Freddy's still a basic M1 killer. Same thing with Trapper. The problem with Trapper is that if someone's following you around and getting rid of your traps, you pretty much don't have a power. Unlike Myers, who can literally run out of his power, which doesn't happen as often as I think people think it does, Trapper can be in a situation where his power is basically useless as someone is going around making sure it is. Now, you could argue, well, go around and chase that person. Well, then the other three are doing gens. The problem all three of these killers have is virtually the same. Their powers don't do much for them. They don't help an anti-loop. And with the exception of Freddy, none of them have real map mobility. You can argue that Trapper has anti-loop because you can put a trap at a loop. But at the same time, once they see you doing that, they're just going to leave that loop and go to another one, and then the process starts again. And then someone could go behind you and undo that trap at that loop, and then they run back to that one. There's not really too much any of these killers can do to stop those situations. Trapper, a lot of time, relies on the opponent making mistakes. Tremendous mistakes. With the exception of maybe Basement Trapper, a lot of times you're just kind of praying that your opponents aren't looking down or disarming your traps. With Myers, he's depending a lot on snowball potential, and you could argue, well, Oni does the same thing. Oni is a little different because he's also forcing slowdown by making people want to heal, and his map mobility is much more powerful in his Demon Dash form. It's a similar case for a lot of killers. A lot of the other killers have other X factors that make them better, even without add-ons or perks. And that's something that needs to be talked about. The other thing is a lot of these tier lists are talking about consistency. Can you get a 4K with Myers? Yes. Can you do it consistently? No. Even the best Myers players in the world can't get 4Ks consistently. Not every match, not all the time. There's a lot of situations where they just can't. Same with Trappers. Azdarva is one of the best players in the world, and even he agrees, as a Trapper main that he was for the longest time, Trapper is not that good. He has his moments and his situations, but they are so niche and so seldom to happen that it's not reliable to consider him any better than he is at F tier. The other thing with this is I do want to mention that, and this is kind of alluding into more of the tier list situation, even if these killers were buffed to a point to where they were better, and let's say they went up to C tier, the thing is, they would still be at the bottom. Unless they get buffed to in such a way where they overthrow the other killers, someone is going to be at the bottom. And it doesn't matter if it's D tier, F tier, or C tier. The bottom is the bottom, and people are going to see that as bad. The only thing I'm saying is maybe give these killers a try. Maybe not these three in particular, but any killer that is considered bad, and see how good you can actually make them, or if you even find them fun. Clown is a classic example of one that I think is the sentiment has changed over the years. He went from being a joke character to kind of switching to being better after the rework, but then people still called him bad. And I think after a few things that have happened over the years, people have seen the true potential of Clown. And he's not S tier by any means, but he's not as bad as people were saying. And like I said, sentiment has definitely changed on Clown. And it probably won't for Trapper, Myers, and Freddy unless they get some major changes. A lot of Trapper's problems come from just making a lot of his add-ons base kit to a degree. Freddy, honestly, I don't know what they could do to make him, quote, better. And Myers has his own list of issues. I'm going to talk more about that in the Myers interview when it comes out. But, yeah, there's a lot of issues Myers has. But, yeah, tell me what you guys think of all of these killers. Because, I don't like to just spout my own talk to you guys. I like to hear what y'all have to say. In any case, I love y'all. Have a good one. And bye.